What is up, people? It is I, your friend Jeffrey Taylor, here with another Grown A Geeks episode where we're going to be reviewing Arcane, the Netflix animated series that just came out. Tonight, I'm sitting in the big chair, so don't be alarmed. This is still Grown A Geeks, the channel that you come to know and love. Just, switching some things up just for tonight. But let's go around and introduce the panel. Sorry, as you can tell from how I'm blundering right now, I don't usually do this. So now I'm going to stop talking and go to the man who usually does this. Sam, say what's up to everybody. How are you this evening?
I'm doing well, man. How you guys doing tonight? Ready to talk about some Arcane? Want to be the enemy?
Mm.
Great. And then we're going to pass it to my guy, RG Cashmere the Pro.
You know what it is? Another beautiful day in the neighborhood. Didn't mean to bang the hell out. Like I know you saw that mini earthquake right there when I got animated, but some of we talking about Arcane.
Like what they doing in the Undercity? Wait a minute.
Okay.
Right. So we didn't do a review of season one, so there might be a little bit of season one overlap in some of the conversation, but this is something that I will say Arcane as a whole caught me completely off guard. I don't play League of Legends. I'm not a gamer. For anybody who watches the channel, y'all know what my steez is: TV, cartoons. That's what I do. If it's something that lives in a video game, and only a video game, and that game came out past the year 2007, I probably do not know anything about it. So I was pleasantly caught off guard by this series, but I think you guys probably have a little more knowledge of Arcane. And so I'm always curious as an outsider. My wife reads books, and I always kind of ask her how close did the movie get to the book. But with games starting to become more and more prevalent in media and cartoons and things like that, I'm curious from you guys' perspective, how good was this series in terms of like letting somebody know what the world of like League of Legends is all about from you guys' perspective? I kind of want to just start there to like set the tone of what the series is, especially for people who like are not familiar with the game at all, to get them to like give that show a chance. What did you guys think in terms of like that crossover?
I think a lot of people are familiar with the game League of Legends. It's a game by Riot Games, and it's an online battle arena style game with various champions that you can play as. And if I'm not mistaken, League is a MOBA, right?
Yes.
And so at one point, when most people think about playing like online multiplayer games, MMOs, things of that nature, Warcraft, World of Warcraft, WoW is one of the first games that comes to people's mind. And the other one that I think is probably most prominent is League of Legends. And it's a pretty big game. And even if you're not someone who is a heavy fan of that style of game, that type of game, someone that does play that game. Everybody, I feel like League of Legends is one of the games. Everybody knows somebody that plays League of Legends. Everybody knows somebody that plays World of Warcraft. That's, the scope of the game. And I think with it being just like that big, you know what I'm saying? The gameplay, the strategy that's required, and it's one of the more popular gaming communities. You know what I'm saying? Like you hear about gaming communities, and League of Legends is pretty prominent for the fan base, the people who play. Like that is their game. They don't play nothing else. They play League of Legends. That's their game. The same way somebody like, they're a gamer, they play Madden. That's what they play. They play 2K. That's what they play. Call of Duty. League of Legends is right up there. That's what they play. And what little I knew about the game, because it's not a game that I personally play, what little I knew about the game, it's so popular that when the animated series came on, I was still like, oh yeah, okay, I know that. Oh, okay, yeah, I've seen that. I'm familiar with that. So I think it does a really good job of bringing something that's probably a little bit more difficult conceptually to explain to someone
Yeah.
and giving you a clear understanding of this world. Because like
Mhm.
you have your main characters in the show and you have heroes in the game. And so if you don't necessarily understand who the heroes are or what their roles are, this is a nice way to kind of expand and give you the proper lore as to who everybody is and why they're, why these various people are champions.
Hmm. I know you'll hear my keyboard all typing all extra loud and whatnot.
Now you get it.
Now, I learned about League of Legends from the tournaments. So my knowledge of League of Legends, I didn't play it. I'm not a big fan of MOBAs. It looks nice, but it kind of reminded me of a StarCraft. And that's the thing. Like Sam said, in the gaming community, there were definitely, obviously, it was big enough and prominent enough for a game for them to have a league and pay people to play this game professionally.
Right.
So this was, like you said, it was a very big thing in the gaming community. People did know a lot about League of Legends. Like you said, it's right up there with World of Warcraft. Now, from what I remember from just watching the gameplay, from watching gameplay, there's not too much you can gather from the lore from just watching gameplay. And from what I've seen and what I've heard from the the people I know that game is that the show kind of hints at the world of League of Legends. But the beauty of it is you didn't have to play the game to understand the show at all. Like obviously the world building within the game is entirely different. It's done very differently from the way they did it in the show. And if you didn't have to play the game to enjoy the show. So I didn't play the game at all, but I very much got into the lore and the world building of the show because they did a very good job with the hook from episode one to the end.
Yeah. I think for me, that was the thing. Like, I found myself just kind of being like, what the hell is this? What is this game about as I'm watching the show? Because from the gameplay, like you guys said, like, I haven't really seen the gameplay, but it looked like World of Warcraft. And I know I don't play those games. So I never even like walked over in the direction of that going on whenever I would like see it out somewhere if I was at like a con or anything like that where anything like that was going on. So I think like I kind of went into it like whatever. Like I honestly just threw season one on when we were like moving into our house and I just had like a bunch of stuff I was like building in the living room, like furniture and stuff I was assembling, and I was just like it was on in the background and then I like looked up and I had watched like 5 episodes and I hadn't built shit. And so I was like, okay, like I'm into this. And I thought that jumping into season two, a lot of the good things that they did in season one, I was kind of worried because once something has success the way that this did and has a good response the way that this did, here come the pencil pushers, here come the money people, here come the execs wanting to all now put their thumbprint on it. And I was worried it was going to be Ninja Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze all over again.
Right.
And I don't think that I think that one of the things that I really liked about this show, and then, that's going to be the question that I circulate next. What is like one thing that you really liked about this show? The thing that I liked about this show was the edge. I think that
Mm.
we are living in a time where media that has female main characters are under a large portion of unfair scrutiny. And I think that there is some pushback sometimes because there is a lot of girl power message, and sometimes men are like, "What about us?" And I think that this show did a great job of not allowing people who would be turned off by that to gain any sort of foothold, because you can't look at this show where it is about this is a on its head is a story that like you might watch on Lifetime, like some white women might watch on Lifetime and be crying. It's two
Some family
sisters,
drama.
right?
Wow.
They
All
lose it
right.
all,
Word.
you know what I'm saying?
Look, it's
The
a,
back
a
the
action
backdrop
comedy
and how
family drama.
right, the backdrop, how they solve their problems is like obviously what makes it not a Lifetime movie. But
Right.
at its
Right.
core, some of these things are the kinds of movies that the
Right.
target audience for this would generally not enjoy. But they did a great job of mixing in fighting. They did a good job of mixing in weapons and blowing stuff up and the stakes, the drama,
Yeah.
the romance. It was just a very well balanced show. And now for me, it's like, and it didn't have to be like, it wasn't soft. People died, people got beat up, people got shot, people aired out the drama. It was adult. It had edge to it, but it wasn't edgy for the sake of being edgy. It wasn't like we're we're showing you how cool we are. It's just like we're just being cool, and you know you
This is
receive
the
it how you
story.
receive it. So I
Yeah.
really like that the tone of the show was very edgy. The tone of the show kind of didn't allow you to feel like you could relax, because a wall could blow up at any time, and some people from underground are coming above ground, some people from above ground are coming underground,
Surprise,
and you just
motherfucker.
never. Right.
Right.
It was an enjoyable amount of chaos that allowed the appropriate amount of tension to come through in the show. So, RG, what is like kind of that thing that stood out the most to you in the show that you enjoyed?
Without question, I go back to it all the time. It's the writing. Uh, it touches on really all the points that you brought out, right? All the writing was very effective at the hook, at sticking to the hook and developing the characters. And the hook is, how is this possibly going to end? Right? Like, one of the things that you brought up was about the chaos. And what the show did and what the writing did very well was manage the chaos and made the chaos palatable. Right? There was a lot going on. There are probably about 7 or 8 different storylines with with 2 or 3 with groups of 2 or 3 people involved in each of them, and you can comfortably follow each storyline, and you can devote a level of concern or care about each of those characters. And the thing is that each of those characters in each of these storylines has a ridiculous and consistent character arc. All of them are different than the way they started out in season 1, episode 1. And the writing showed and did not tell. There were a lot of things that were conveyed through various actions, various scenes, various things that happened, various situations that each character got in, and you allowed them to act appropriately in that situation in order to push the story forward. It didn't require exposition. It didn't, none of that. And even though I would give, there probably was some exposition, right? There obviously is exposition in the story, but it occurred naturally, right? It wasn't forced. It wasn't, here, we need to hurry up and solve this problem, so here, let this character explain this situation. It was, no, this situation might require some exposition. And that is just excellent writing, where you make it so that there's no wasted lines. There's no wasted dialogue. Everything had a purpose. Everything wrapped up. Everything wrapped up eventually. Even if there were some situations, there were a couple of situations that I thought were unnecessary, and the story ended abruptly. But for the most part, 95% of everything that they introduced had a payoff. So
Yeah.
the one thing I loved about that show was just the writing. They wrote it chef's kiss.
Yeah, for sure.
I would have to say the writing probably ties into this same aspect, but for me, it is the depth of the characters individually,
Mm-hmm.
because for the most part, like we said, we joked and said that this is a story of family. However, you want to receive that, but ultimately, this story it all ultimately revolves around family. Maybe what you'll do for them, how far you'll go for them,
Mm.
if you're going to actually be there for your family. The family you're born with, the family you choose. There's a number of storylines that all revolve around family, but what makes these families are the characters. And I swear, like, I can't think of another show that I've watched in quite some time that had such a rich selection of characters where literally every single one of the characters could have been the main character.
Mm-hmm.
And that is damn, like, this. You could have done this entire show from Caitlyn's perspective, and it still would have been great. You could have done this entire show from hell. You could have done it from Madara, and it would have been interesting. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
She's such a dope ass character. Um, you know what I'm saying? But it's like watching her manipulate things behind the scenes and putting her daughter in place. The whole story with the Black Rose and where it goes. It's Vi and Jinx. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
everybody felt like a main character, and because of that, you felt truly invested in everything that was happening. And I think that's kind of what RG is saying as far as the writing. Nothing really felt wasted, even though there were 7 different stories that we're watching. They balanced it properly and kept us interested, and there was so much spillover one story to the next.
Even like some of the extras, like there's the scene in the like one of the later episodes when they're going to battle and they're showing like the people leaving their families. I'm like, why are they showing this one family? And then like 10 minutes later, like he
Yeah.
comes up. And so without that one scene, it's like, oh, this is just a random dude who gets shot. But now it's
Right.
like, oh, I feel bad. I've only seen this character a total of 12 seconds, but now I like feel terrible because I know
Right.
what his death actually means.
I
It's not
know
just
the
like
weight of that, the gravity that
exactly,
comes with that.
exactly.
And I will
And
absolutely agree that it's a lot for the writing, and these are just well written characters. And I think that's what stands out for this.
yeah, they didn't tell you that you should feel bad for these people, right? Just by, like you said, that one little scene, that show that instantly gets you involved. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Okay.
it was also really interesting, like, and this may go into another topic, but as we're discussing the writing and the weight of the different storylines, I found myself kind of moving back and forth between who I was rooting for, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, on one hand, you're like, power to the people. And then you get it out, you're like, well, y'all do need some structure, some law and order. And y'all can just, and then you come, it was like everybody was the bad guy and everybody was the hero. The duality that, so.
Nah, the black mama, she was not a hero.
No, she
ultimately,
ultimately, no, Madara.
family. Remember,
Let me tell you, I like Madara. Madara is, I like her strength. She's manipulative. Don't get me wrong. And she is as true a villain as they had. But it's one of those things where, like, in her mind, she's justifying it. You know what I'm saying? Because she wants to rule, and she wants to make sure that her family legacy rules. And you know what I'm saying? Like, everything she was doing was for her family to be on top, and was like, I'm not going to be second fiddle, not ever. And if you're, what was it? I can give you the world when you show me you're ready to take it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
she's like, okay, you know, I'm happy to give you the world as soon as you can take it from me. And it's like, Mel Madara, the daughter, you know what I'm saying? Mel is the kind of character who you can see the route she could go,
Mm-hmm.
and how easy it would be for her to go that path. But then you can also see what it would be like if she chooses another path. You know, you do get a lot of duality from the characters like that. Because at one point, you know, you're looking at Jinx, and it's like, okay, this is what happens when a character isn't loved properly. You know what I'm saying? And then you look at Vi, and you're like, well, this is when a character does have love. But then when you take that love away, you see how quickly Vi went right back to being as bad, possibly even worse. You know what I'm saying? Because she was in that arena. You know what I'm saying?
Letting out some frustration.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And then when we see Jinx pop up, she doesn't immediately like she doesn't want anything to do with Jinx at this point, because she's like, basically, you cost me everything. But she's like, I need your help with something. That's still her sister. They have that moment. Then they get down there. And when we get to that part, I want to get more into that. But it's just like, again, it's the family aspect of these characters. And it's like, I was Team Vi, then I was Team Jinx, and then I was Team Family. And you know what I'm saying? It's like, it just, your alliances kind of flip back and forth as the story continues on. And that's pretty cool, because a lot of times it's like black and white, cut and dry. Here's the good guys, here are the bad guys, pick a side, and nobody, you know, the bad guy loses in the end all the time. So having a story where there's a little bit of space, a little bit of wiggle room to see both sides. I don't agree, but I get it. You know what I'm saying? And I got a lot of that, especially in season 2.
That's interesting, because I want to ask this to RG, because on a lot of episodes, you've been very adamant about the villains being the villain. And with what Sam has just said, I kind of agree with too. Like, I mean, my allegiances didn't really shift, because I was pretty much Team Vi, like, throughout.
Right.
I mean, it's like, I get what some of the Jinx was doing, but it's like, you know,
there are better ways.
Like you said, you're crashing out.
Right.
I look at it like the incident that happened with a certain CEO in New York, where it's like, nobody's going to catch me on camera, like, condoning that, but you're also not going to get me to just be like, yeah, lock them up and throw away the key. Like, I'm just like, hey,
except for right now.
Y'all figure that out. I'll be over here.
My name Bennett.
Right.
Exactly. So how can you kind of give us an understanding of why this felt different? Because obviously, like, that's a trope that bothers you a lot. Yes. And this show does have quite a bit of, like, justifying my wrongdoing. Even the final, what we would consider like the final boss, and like his desire to connect everyone and create peace through, like,
the eternal Sumiyaki, the Naruto move. Nah, you know something. So yes, you were absolutely right. Some of my biggest issue with our friends over at the Mouse Land is that they do moral ambiguity incredibly wrong. Okay, they don't do it right, and that is one of the things that Arcane did do right. one of the main things that I look for when you are trying to make characters who are who have that dichotomy about them, right? Where I'm supposed to be good, but I'm capable of doing bad things, right? And I think a lot of what the story really introduced about people is that we're trying to look at people who are technically good, but good people are capable of doing bad things. And I think that is one of the things that the show really pushed and did well at explaining each individual person's reason for doing the bad things, each situation that made them go over the edge. We You kind of understood why in most situations. I mean, yeah, there was some where some went crazy, right? They flipped out and absolutely overreacted. And we can all understand. The thing is, though, we can all understand in each of those situations, we understand why it happened, right? We understand at the end of season one why Jinx blew up the building, right? We understood what pushed her to that edge. Silco dying was that catalyst to push her over the edge, right? Up until then, she was just another soldier, and the underbellies, Undercity's, crusade for equal rights. And then this happens, her longest known father figure dies. Right?
Right.
So boom, this is the thing that pushes us over the edge. We understand that. Everybody else, right? You introduce them, all the other characters, they introduce them as technically a good person. When you listen to what their reasons, what their motivations are, you could relate. You can understand. They are justifiable reasons. Most of them want something good and decent for their surroundings. But this city and these situations shit just keeps spiraling and putting them in bad situations. They're doing bad things. So to me, that's what made the who to root for, who to not root for. Because obviously there's some situations where I'm like, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to resort. You didn't have to go that far. But the thing is, I think one with Ambessa, they really made a character who was just so imposing and so had such a twisted but relatable devotion to her family duty that it was kind of, you did have to kind of root against her, because it was like you knew her reasoning was twisted. Everybody else's reasoning was a little bit more altruistic, right? Or at least not as selfish as hers was, right? Yeah. So to me, she was the clear antagonist, right? Because everybody else, it was just, oh, Jace wants to, figure out Hex Tech and make the city, better and improve things, and then everything goes wrong. Everybody kind of, they had good intentions, and then it's just, all right, well, somebody blew some shit up, so now you got to go kill some people. I get it. Everybody had somebody that died, so it's, it became a big revenge story. I understand it. I got you. I get those motivations.
He wants to make clean burning energy, but he has this humongous axe.
Yeah, I mean, hey, the
duality of man.
He lived right under. They be getting it on 100 feet below him. He got a prep. So that was the thing that made it. That was its pass for me. That's why I was cool with how they did moral ambiguity, as opposed to a lot of the other shows and movies that we're watching that I'm so extra critical of.
Okay. Yeah. Understood. I mean, I felt like there were a lot of storylines where it was like, if you just like sit down and talk to this person instead of trying to like that was my whole thing with like Vi and Jinx. Really, it was like, clearly, like, the problem is you keep telling Jinx she's not big enough, she's not whatever, she's not, you keep whatever it is, you're making her feel like she's not capable, and you're not recognizing that she's the kind of person that every time you tell her she's not capable, she's going to show you she's capable because she's just like you, because she's your little sister. So maybe instead of always trying to leave her back, and maybe instead of always trying to send her off somewhere to protect her, because every time you do that, what happens? Like, let's adjust how we communicate with each other, and we'll be good. But then there will be no show. So
I was about to say, it's irritating as that is just standard tropey television. You know.
Well, hold on. Or is it a relatable character flaw that she eventually had to overcome?
It depends on how many times you make that mistake.
Well, unfortunately for her, she made it. They gave her a few opportunities, and every opportunity she screwed it up until
and a lot of people died.
The end. Well, I mean, people was dying. I mean, hey, it's violent out there, man.
No, I mean, honestly, in a sense, it's the trope of communication just in TV shows and movies in general. A lot of stuff could be avoided if people would just talk. If they would just talk, it's, you know what I'm saying? They come down, it's like, well, I had something I have to. No, I've really got to run. Yeah, but no, it's really important. I have to tell you this thing. Yeah, but I got to go. Okay, we'll talk later. Okay, yeah, let's do that. We'll talk later. Okay. And then we got to go through this whole episode with you not saying the one thing that you need to say. Just say that thing. Say that thing. And if you say that thing, all of this is avoided. And yeah, that's frustrating. And that's why I say, to me, when it happens like this with characters like this, it's always going to be, I sent you away to protect you because I couldn't live myself if anything happened to you. But look what happened to me because you sent me away.
Yeah.
You were more than
capable. Is that not hindsight, though? Can we not contribute? Is that not attributable to hindsight?
The problem is, you do it at the beginning of season 1. A bunch of stuff gets blown up. Then you do it again at the end of season 1, and a bunch of more stuff gets blown up. Every time you do this, a bunch of stuff gets blown up. Every time you embrace her and you're open with her and you're honest with her, your relationship gets closer and you repair it. And then as soon as something big comes up, here you want to shove her in the closet again. And she's going to create a bomb. She's going to MacGyver bomb her way. Like, she's like the most destructive MacGyver character ever created. So it's like, it doesn't matter where you leave her. She is showing if she's not with you, she's going to blow up stuff until she's back with you again. And
talk about somebody acting out.
Right. Okay. So I think for me, this is not even me like not enjoying the show. Like, I still like, it was like, even though I felt like that in the moment, I wasn't like, this is preventing me from like enjoying the show. No. It was just like, well, that was stupid.
It was delightful frustration.
Yeah.
Like, really, Vi? Really? Just say it.
Yeah.
There were little things that I saw in the show that normally you would kind of overlook stuff.
Yeah.
But it felt like all of these little things, like you said, with the family. You know what I'm saying? When dude normally that would be something you just kind of, it's background, it's imagery, it's a scene. Yeah. And it's so much stuff that I just probably would have overlooked. And I felt like, yeah, that's important. Like every time something happened, it was like, yeah, that's important. When after Vi joined the Enforcers, and then she left the Enforcers, and there was a battle with Jinx and Shield, and then they get separated. Caitlyn, she's like, I had the shot, and you stopped it. You know what I'm saying? And they had their little spiff. The very next episode, when Caitlyn sits up, the little redheaded sergeant is right there.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, already? I was like, already? And then as it goes on, it's like, okay, that was your rebound, but you was trying real hard to make sure that you was over. Okay, I see how you doing.
She's in a war. She needs to let some stress off.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like, but it was one of those things where still just that moment
Right.
was so like, that was last episode.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
He
And
Jennifer Lopez the shit out this situation.
right. Like, he wasted notes. Okay, so you got you trying to make me think that Vi is expendable. That's what you're trying to do. They're trying to put this imagery in there, like, you're just over it, and you're so, military cut and dried. I have, trying to make her hard, trying to like have her so closed off, and then of course when they, meet back up and the whole like, yeah, you see, I was funny. I was actually rewatching episode 6, and when they got, when Vi's like tied up and Caitlin's talking to him, like, they're trying to make sure that you see that rift is there, that divide exists.
Yeah.
And yet, you didn't have the wrong people in your ear.
Right.
Right. So,
That's
I
why
like
you
that you. Facts. You guys have brought up character a lot, rightfully so. I think the show had a lot of characters, honestly.
Yeah.
Some of the storylines, I didn't really necessarily like care about, but I saw why we needed them. Like the storyline, the scientist with the axe storyline, trudging his way through the future, afterlife, whatever that was.
Yeah.
As it was happening, I'm like, I know this is important, but I'm not enjoying
what the hell
this.
is going on right
Yeah.
now? Yeah.
But I think like there was so much like random stuff that happened that the world that they built, it wasn't just like so straightforward. And so I think maybe what we can talk about is some of the like random storytelling things that we liked in the show, or just random stuff. Like I really love the animation style and how they didn't just show a montage, but the montage would be like in a completely separate animation style that fit the character, that fit the situation that was going on, that really told the story not just through visuals but through the music, and not just showing like here's what happened but in the exact same style. But it's like when we're getting Jinx's song, this looks like some crazy kind of schizo-y drawing, like really rough animation, really roughly rendered style. When we get I'm bad with names, but the general story, this is some regal like warrior, real true warrior type stuff. And I think like just visually they did such a great job of like tying art style, music style, songs choices to the individual characters, that like
Yeah.
those were the things that they were using to build the characters up beyond just like the story and the dialogue and the voice acting. But it was like it was a marriage of every part of the series. Like they had a certain way of treating every single character in every single discipline on the show. So a lot of times we watch stuff and a certain character walks in, they have their score. James Bond comes on, it's like dun like he got two. It just depends on what he doing. If he's just driving through the street, it's like dun, 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 dun. But like if he about to turn up, it's like we need all the trumpets.
So he's coming off the parachute, but he got the parachute.
But like when Moneypenny comes in, there's no song. When Q comes in, there's no like change in like directorial style to signify we're getting technical, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think with Arcane and I mean this is the beauty of animation. You can do things like that stylistically that are a lot easier for your audience to follow along to. And I think what they ended up getting in some of these sequences was some really beautiful art, but really beautiful effective storytelling that allowed us to learn more without the exposition that RG was talking about we usually get. Because at some other studios, some of those montage songs would have been like, I'm a strong whatever Africa is in this world, I'm that strong warrior and I had to fight my way. You know, it's like we don't need a Viola Davis speech here. Shout out to Viola Davis. You do your thug thizzle all the time. Crown Command, mad respect for it. Brought me to tears
We
and
love you.
fences.
We
But
love you.
for our Arcane warrior antagonists, the way they did it was way more effective. And I really enjoy and appreciated like that choice being allowed because that's more money. You paying different animators, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's budget that could easily have just been like, we don't feel like that's important. So um I hope they continue that with whatever future Arcane or League of Legends stories that they tell. But I think that was the thing that as I grew into the series, I really started paying attention to the way things were animated and when that animation style changed, how that was supposed to be an extension of the storytelling. Sam,
All right.
42-25.
I would say probably my favorite thing was, again, it's something character based. It's watching. We've gotten to this. Well, I have anyway. Let me say that I've gotten to this thing now where a lot of shows like to kill off characters for a shock value. Game of Thrones made it real popular to get you invested in this person and then take them out just to keep you on your toes, and you never know what's going to happen and that sort of thing. And so now it's kind of it's I won't say it's difficult, but it's interesting when you watch shows now, especially when there are a lot of like key characters. I won't say main characters, but key characters. Oh no, I thought that was her on the screen there. Um, but when you follow like individual characters, uh, somebody that stands out is like Savika. When you follow Savika from season one, she's the chick with the one big arm,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and she's just like a henchman, basically. She's a glorified henchman. She's a number two, and
Mm-hmm.
she's working for Silco. She's, like, oh, we should attack Piltover, and you know what I'm saying, and
Right.
like Vander's
What's the
like,
dude
no,
on?
we should work with them, and let's have a peaceful. And she's like, oh, you're weak, and you know what I'm saying. And then it's like you follow along, and she's a part of the attack on the town, and then she has this moment with Jinx where she's like, you're the reason that the rebellion is still alive, and she on the council now. Like, come
Right.
on, that's being able to see, and when I was talking about like watching people's, not really watching alliances shift, but you kind of root for this person and you root against this person, but then you have a character like this who comes in, and in a weird way, she's right the whole time. Her methods are a little extreme. You know what I'm saying? Like you attacking people at a parade and stuff, like, whoa. But you know what I'm saying? It's like she was fortunate to never go too far. You know what I'm saying? Like, and maybe it was just circumstantial because there was a couple times where she tried, but it was like you also saw that at the end of the day, she was still, and I don't want this, she was still a person with a heart. Let me say it like that. She was still a person with a heart because when um when the scientists had the creature chasing the train to get down into the little jail,
Mm-hmm.
Jinx was like, "Get Aisha out of here,"
Right.
and she didn't wait. She was like, "I got to protect this baby." Didn't waste no time. And Aisha, she was fighting the whole time. I want to be with Jinx, that kind of bit. And you very well could have been leaving Jinx to her death, but you see that this little child could potentially be the future because she's giving you Jinx vibes. You know what I'm
Right.
Mm-hmm.
saying? And ultimately, she wants it to be better for the next generation. She wants it to be better for her people. And when you see this council get reformed, like you feel like you know that she's going to represent her people.
But she's had enough growth to know that she not about to flip that table over. You know what I'm
And
saying? She's seen enough, she's lost enough. And that's the thing of like her whole thing is like she secretly wants to be number one, but like I feel like even in season 2 doesn't she realizes that like she doesn't have the like juice behind her. The people are gonna
yeah,
follow Jinx because Jinx is making things shake.
yeah, I say
And
Jinx make that noise because even when Aisha was standing there on the, when she's up top and she takes the little bombs and throws them out and she's got the hood on, everybody thinks that it's Jinx, but it's actually, Aisha right there. She was trying to get everybody to rally behind her then.
yeah.
And they wasn't really trying to, but as soon as they
Where's
thought Jinx was in the area, they was like, okay, we're with you. And she was like, hey, whatever it take. We just need you here and active. And also, when Ambessa decided to attack, she was right there, holding down like she was supposed to.
Oh, yeah. Savika's a hammer.
Yeah.
And I think she recognizes that she's a hammer. And she approaches everything from that perspective. She's always kind of been that way. And I think her main growth was understanding that she's a damn hammer. And that she needed that. What the underbelly really needed was it needed more than a hammer. Well, yeah, a bomb is definitely. Woo, they got that. But it needed more. It needed an emotional leader, someone that could rouse emotion in people other than let's fight, let's brawl, right? And that was one of the things that Jinx actually did. That's the thing about crazy, right? And insanity, right? Insanity is a peak of emotion, right? You feel emotion at its peak. So that is the appeal of Jinx, is that she felt the emotion at its peak. When it comes to characters in this show, she's mine. Like, it's Jinx is the character that I'm like, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to go into that until you're done, Sam.
No, go right into it. That's a very good segue.
Yeah, Jinx is the character that I saw that really bound. Actually, I think is the core of the show, right? I think you start off with Jinx as this little girl, and I think this show is a heartstring, man. It's just let's just pick at those heartstrings, and you have this really cute, intelligent little girl who unfortunately just gets abandoned, gets misunderstood and dismissed by everyone that she looked up to, until one person. And then that one person dies, she flips out, but that's not her core. And season 2 was really, we talk about character arcs, and this is actually just a complete circle, right? This is Powder to Jinx, back to Powder. And that's why I really loved her story, because it was her becoming this mentally unstable but abused child who really just wanted to be loved by her mother till she died, wanted to be loved by Vander until he died, wanted to be loved by her sister until she basically abandoned her and left her to die in her mind, right? And then has her father figure die on her. And then after that, one of the things season 2 did very good at the beginning is you have Jinx kind of chilling, actually deciding to fall back, right? And that's when she runs into Isha. You know what I'm saying? And that's Isha was the thing that helped move Jinx's story from villain to relatable antihero. That's when she went from villain to anti-hero at that point, because she had her save the cat moment. She saved Isha. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing that made, okay, well, hold up. How bad is Jinx really? we look at her as this complete psychopath who's willing to blow up stuff and kill people what we think is indiscriminately, but then she saves this child and then basically becomes Vi.
Yeah, surrogate sister.
Right? Basically becomes Vi. And now it's her time with Isha that at that point helps her relate more to Vi and begin to understand why Vi did some of the things that she did with her. Because she finds herself trying to, you don't need to go there. You don't need to be there. You should chill. You should fall back. And that's why I really love, the writing was the way they handled her interactions and her sort of maternal role and sisterly role with Isha was just they did a great job of promoting and justifying Vi's growth into the next stage of her character.
All right, Sam.
Yep.
Favorite character from the show?
Ooh, I want to hear this.
I am super cliche when it comes to stuff like this. Vi.
Of course, the Superman of the show.
I'm super cliche. Like, I am all about main character energy. And this story is truly told from the point of view just over Vi's shoulder. You have to know what happens in the background of everything. But when you talk about the connecting force between everybody, since Vi was the character, I think best showed us how you can live and exist in both worlds. You get a taste of the good life, and then that's taken from you. You know the hardship, you know the struggle, you do what you can to do the right thing. What do you do when that doesn't work?
Mm-hmm.
You get to that breaking point, but you don't go the path that Jinx went. And so it's like you watch her just struggle to maintain this good persona until she can't. And then when that's taken, you see the problem she could be if she decides to go that route, if she chose that path, if she went that way. And as far as like the character development and the growth, like you said, we see that she continues to make the same mistake over and over and over, especially in regards to her sister. And basically, when you look at the story as a whole, we see it prominently in how she relates to Powder / Jinx. But when you look at how she treats any relationship,
yeah,
she's very like guarded and standoffish. And the only time we see her be vulnerable, so to speak, is with Caitlyn. And then when that doesn't go, she's just like, okay, see, this is why I don't let nobody in, and it's that kind of character that you want to see them get the hug. You want to see them get the love and get the embrace. And you want them to have that family. Because like I said, when she was down in the pits doing her little cage fighting and whatnot, and Jake showed up then, she was ready to go to blows right then. It was like, you talk about on site, and it looked like it was on site. And then she's like, wait, and that slowed her down. And then, of course, they go down, and she had them. She was ready. She was actually fighting Vander at one point until, Vander was actually able to kind of have that moment of clarity, because he was kind of in it. I mean, what my man did to him, you can't blame him. But like when he had his moment of clarity and was able to see that these were his girls, and he, opened up, it's like, as weird as this family is, you can also see that like she's ready to go to war for this family. as broken and as messed up as it is, this her Ohana, ain't nobody getting left behind. And just characters like Vi they're easy to be inspired by. And whenever you have your hero character fall from grace, their triumphant return is always, in my opinion, a bit more rewarding. People like to see that character fall. And so when you see that character, very cliche to see them come back up, but it always feels like that return to grace is always very rewarding. And characters like Vi are just, those are the people we write the stories about. Those are the heroes.
Mm.
Cool.
So Jeff, who was your favorite?
You also continue to Vi love.
Yeah, like who was your favorite character? I'm curious.
Probably Echo. I feel like he's the one who made them. I feel like he's the character who was like,
he created.
I'm gonna just fix this. Like in every scenario, the only thing he did was come up with solutions. Yeah. People don't have a place to go. Cool, we gonna have this little tree where people can come and live or whatever. And I mean, it was a combined effort, but like he is a major linchpin in them like solving the problem and stopping everything. And I think, I really enjoyed his character arc. I like watching characters grow up. And I think like, you talk about boy to man story arc, when you meet him, he is just like a little follower and he's ready to do whatever. And obviously like he's got his feelings for Jinx that are, obvious to everybody, even if it's not to like them. And I think you see him kind of grow in his role, grow and get opportunities. He's the character I feel like who really actually had the vision of how the overworld and underworld could actually coexist and not necessarily it be a thing of like they come down here and give us all their rules or we go up there and make it chaos, but just like we can both live in our separate places and live how we want to live, but like not try to kill each other because they're developing this tech up there. I'm from down here. I'm smart enough to figure it out. They need me. You know what I'm saying? Like he was bridging the alliances and putting those things into motion. And so I'm always, even with my show Therapy, I'm solutions oriented. I don't want to just talk about stuff that sucks and why it sucks and why I hate it. I want to hear like what people would have done differently, how they would have changed it. Even to I forget which episode it was, but the alternate reality episode where he goes and he's in a world that doesn't have Vi, but Jinx is still around. And there's a world where he and Jinx can be and are together. And he does, have that dream realized, but it's just not him. And even like the small moment where he's traveling back to the right time and you see future face paint Jinx, not Jinx, future face paint Echo look through the thing and see himself have like the future that he's like fighting for. And I don't know. I think that even though it does not pan out that way in this world, I think that was like an interesting way of showing like he understands he's on the right path, and that like it kind of created a weird thing for me because I was like, that world seemed a little more peaceful. And the only thing that was different is that Vi is not there.
Vi's the only one that
I guess.
But I mean,
she's Rick. She's Rick from The Walking Dead.
I was about to say she's the catalyst that makes all of the things I mean, like if you and truthfully, that's what I'm saying. Like she is the thing that makes everything either happen or not happen in every like the Caitlyn could have won the war with the security forces when she went down. Vi was the one that stopped that from happening. We never would have had to deal with all the stuff from Jinx because there would have been no Jinx. She would have remained Powder the entire time. You know what I'm saying? It's like even right to the situation with
get
Vanda.
shot.
Yeah.
So what?
I say you could have let her
take the shot.
It's like if you would have let her take the shot, nobody would have got blown up.
You signed on to be a part of this squad, and you betrayed them.
Yeah,
I know, still my favorite character, but I get how a lot of this is, and that's why I think it's important. Like I said, you see her like these poor choices, and so you need to see her have a good moment and do better and not keep doing the same foolishness over and over. Because the greater good can only be good if it's greater. If you're doing the same shit, it's not the greater good. It's just bad choices.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
And I do like the character of Echo, and I liked that Future Forward episode.
Yeah.
And it said a lot about Echo, and I think you actually verbalized it very well, saying like, he knew that showed him he was on the right path. To be able to discern that from that moment and not just be sucked into that like fantasy aspect of it and like kind of stay like that says a lot about him as a person. And that's
the becoming a man, because
right.
You was in the arms of the woman who you always wanted, and you could have just stayed there.
Could have soft batched that whole situation, caked out.
I don't care what this little gremlin man talking about. But take your ass on somewhere, Mr. What's his Mr. I don't even know his name.
Hummerdinger?
Yeah, I know it was something weird. I'm about to say Mr. Kerfuddle or something. Whatever it is, you can get the hell on. Me and Powder, we on the dance floor, turning up.
Right.
Motherfucker had his chest out like Tony Montana.
Oh, snap. Yeah, honestly, I'm glad you brought up Echo, because the truth of the matter is like in this universe, he's actually the hero of the universe, right? To the world, the one who actually saved the world is Echo. Like, to keep it 100. If he didn't have his time reversal, everybody was screwed. So his time reversal technique is what helped save everybody. Powder and Vi saved each other from the monster Vander, right? But he saved the world. It was what he did that saved everybody. So I'm glad you brought Echo up, man. I'm really glad. He's not my favorite character, but because but I will be honest, and I'm glad we had this conversation, because I think one of the things is I didn't realize how his brief interactions with Powder in the alternate universe was actually the payoff. I was initially concerned because I was like, well, them having that moment doesn't pay off later. It doesn't cause an issue with him later in the story. So why do they show that? And it actually has no bearing on him in the future. But the truth of the matter is that interaction with Powder and his opportunity to experience his brief moment of affection with her, that was a payoff. That was a payoff for all of his previous work that he had done in the active universe. So thank you for bringing that up, that was, how he felt about her. And it was like, then going to that was now, his opportunity to see what would have came. Like, what would have came to fruition if all of that bad shit didn't happen. But ultimately, it's
anytime somebody sacrifices their personal happiness to save the world,
you got to give him
kudos to that man.
You gotta give
kudos to that man. Because if you know what I'm saying, like, I don't know that I could even write a character well enough to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because I would definitely, I would be curious to explore the people. At what point
Man,
is
I
it
would have had
morally
him
open?
turning that canister over and over to keep her from falling in that well.
I mean, but like the funny thing is,
But
that is one of those moments when you see when Steve Rogers is sitting on the park bench.
yeah,
He didn't come back. Echo came back. You know what I'm saying? Like he saw what it could be, but he still did the right thing. And that's why I'm saying, like, that says a lot about that man. Because other people,
Yeah, like Captain America. It says a lot about him too.
Hold on, man. What are you talking about, like, bro? Like, he just saved the world.
It don't matter. It was more world to be saved.
He still ain't gonna.
He still ain't gonna go back and do nothing about.
No, he recognized that the black.
He ain't stopped Martin Luther King. He was just like, I can't do nothing, babe.
He didn't stop the Holocaust.
He ain't stopped nothing.
He only stopped Red Skull. Hitler was still like, I sit down.
He went back in time. He went back in time to get busy with his old works auntie.
But you know what I'm saying, like,
Echo would never.
And that's my point. That's my point. It shows and it says a lot about that character for Echo to see that. You know what I'm saying? And still like come back, save the world.
That's right. Echo, better hero than Captain America. You heard it here first.
That's our clip right there. And look, so, I'm a Captain America fan, so I get it. That's what I like. We pulling no punches here. Okay, we do this all day. Echo, better than Captain America.
We do this all day. Echo, wow.
Like how I slipped that in and out. You like?
Wow, and you go by the sleigh.
There we go.
All right, well, man. What I guess we can close out. We just give our some. What would you say to somebody who has not seen this show, and like, what do you think you was? Go ahead.
Can we? There is a section I would like. What would we like to see more from the show? Because
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like So, for example, I'm really.
That's always
go ahead, lead off.
What would you like to see in another season? Should it get another season? And what would you like to see if we got one?
Yeah, because I definitely there were some things in the show that I feel like, I feel like the second season definitely ended pretty clean, but there were definitely things that I would want to see in a future Arcane series.
Such as?
For example, I want to see the Black Rose, and I want to see a Black Rose spinoff with Mel as the focus. Right, I would like to see her explore how all of a sudden she had the power to beat this new witch, right? This new witch that provoked her, and an opportunity to explore. Well, obviously there are others, and obviously they're pretty darn powerful. So I would like to see another show that actually kind of digs. I don't necessarily know if they need to go backward, but go forward. Let's see Mel with her powers. And now she has to navigate this whole new world of people who are actually in control of the Arcane, who know how to manipulate the power. And let's see what kind of, let's see if she now begins to world or universe hop alternate realities, or just how much of, because they look like a real threat. Obviously, her mother was kind of shook of him. She lost her brother to him.
Yeah.
So I want to see more of that.
Okay. Sam?
I would like to, I could actually just follow more of this new and matured one-eyed Caitlin. Now that, since she was fortunate enough to survive this final battle, she's it's clear that she sees the world differently, and
no pun intended.
All pun intended. but it's clear she sees the world differently, and you know what I'm saying, like when we see her come back and she's, you know, she's got the new black and gold. You know, I'm curious to see where she goes forward. Like we've got new council. I want to see the fruition of all of this. Like we got a happy ending. What happens after that? You know what I'm saying? Because it's like in so many stories. Well, you know,
Pay the lady and go home.
right? You know, it's like in so in so
How
many
happy was that?
situations. In so many situations, you get like, and they lived happily ever after. There's more. What I want to know ever after. I want to know what is the growing conflict, because you still have like just with all of the like first we went from Shimmer, now we got Hex Tech, you know what I'm saying? Like there's other mystical forces that still exist and they're still learning and discovering in the science, and you know,
Yeah.
you can really just open it up.
Yeah.
And even though like Caitlyn wasn't necessarily, because like Caitlyn wasn't in that that alternate world. You know what I'm saying? Just like Vi wasn't there. They didn't show Caitlyn either. What was she doing when she was over there? What was going, like what's her story over there? And maybe that's something to specifically explore. Like if there's something in that, because in that other timeline, like Vi died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that means there would never have, like, because Vi died, Powder never turned to Jinx. Well, Caitlyn also wouldn't have gotten the growth she got as a result of her meeting Vi. So what is that Caitlyn's trajectory? Because she was just, you know, spoiled little rich kid playing cop. She was good at it, but she was playing at it. And it wasn't until events escalated, her mother died, she got pushed into the seat of power and then had to do something because it was her, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, what's that alternate Caitlyn story? That's something that could be an interesting story by itself.
Kate the cop.
You know? The last show I saw about a woman named Kate had the girl who played Ramona Flowers. I can't think of the actress name at the moment.
Mary Elizabeth
Winstead, yes.
Yeah.
She was kicking everybody ass, and her name was Kate. There you go. Maybe that's the alternate time. Maybe that's the alternate timeline. She had gotten poisoned, and she had to figure out who poisoned her before she died, kind of thing. Think of like Crank, but it was a female, and she was kicking ass.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That was a good one. So yeah, maybe that's the alternate timeline. But no, seriously, I think that would be, given that she was like the only other prominent character, so to speak, who didn't really pop up in that alternate timeline. I think there's something there that could be explored. And you know, if we're doing spinoffs, there you go. It could just be an episode. You ain't got to do like a whole season. Maybe we do Tales from Arcane or something. You know what I'm saying? Do a what they call the compilation shows, an anthology.
Yeah.
Different directors, different writers, and they can each tell individual stories about all of these fascinating characters. Let me see Council Member Savika. Follow her around for a day. I would watch the hell out of that, just because when she's getting ready to whip somebody's ass, and then she remember, like, wait a minute, I'm a council member, I can't do it. Okay, look, fill out the form, turn it in, make an appointment. You know what I'm saying? That would be, you know, the anthology series for.
Let's give her a love story.
3.
I want to see her get a love story. Have to smack her man with her with her big arm.
If the bodyguard, if
Ambessa's
bodyguard, but you know, like
didn't
that could have been that would have been the way I would have written that, and it would have been an arm wrestling contest. She would have won, and death by snoo snoo. That's how I write that one out.
All right. Well, for me, before I give my answer, I just have, are these characters in this show from the game? Are they just like characters that are like based on what the characters in the game could be like?
Yes and no. I want to say that all of the main characters and like all the characters we've been talking about, they are in the game.
Okay.
They are
Now,
in the game.
are
The way
there
you play the
characters?
game, the way you play the game, it is not a linear story that you are following.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I think throws a lot of people off. So like I have a buddy who's like nationally ranked in League of Legends.
Mm.
Like my boy is bad. I think his name might be Pickle Rick on there. If you believe it or not, like he might be Pickle Rick, and he's put clips in before in our Facebook group, GrownAGeeks. You can check that out. He's put clips in there before where he's shown like some of his battles, and he's like nationally ranked. And he was kind of telling me it was hilarious because like for a little while there, like when season 1 first came out, everybody watched the show and they loved the show. And so there was a major influx of people who started playing the game only to realize that it's not that kind of game.
Right.
And there was a quick drop off shortly thereafter. But for that little period of time, everybody was just like rank. Because like the championship players
We're just busting ass.
wiping the floor with these people who had no clue what the hell they were playing.
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, my question more was like, are there other characters in the game that have not shown up in the show?
Oh,
Yeah, it's
God,
close.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
then my answer for what I want to see is none of these people who we spent the first 2 seasons with. I want completely new.
Yeah.
Because I trust these writers and this production crew or whatever, whoever's in charge of the show. I trust them to be able to show me and tell a complex story with complex characters over the course of 2 seasons. Like you already shown me that you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that like RG said earlier, this is an ending. I think a lot of these, anytime we get to like looking at Senate council meetings and zoning,
it's a time of peace.
It feels like the Star Wars movies that we don't like. And I'm kind of just like, unless, and because for me, it's like, unless Vi gonna be whooping ass, like, do I want to watch that? I know Big Arm Lady is on the council now, but like, after the first 2 seasons, for me, I don't know if I want to see like an inner turmoil story about you wanting to like break the table in half, but not being able to because you're being diplomatic. I want to see fighting,
that's why I took it from
stuff
a season to an
blowing up.
episode.
Yeah. And so for me, I would watch it if that's what the next season was, but I would definitely be much more interested, I think, in like crafting a further world around these things. Now, if some of these characters like show up, like we've come over from this city for blah 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 blah, or I've written to such and such, great. But like, I want to be in a completely different place and just start me over, create a new place, show me everything, tell me everything, give me the animated styles. As much as I like these characters, like you said, I feel like we've told their story and gotten completion. Even with like Sam said about Echo. We didn't get a after the credits, like here's what Echo's up to after the battle thing, because like you said, his payoff was in the alternate universe and his story kind of was told, but he still had like more to do.
Right.
I'm interested in seeing like new characters, new fighting, new tech, new everything, and it can all be a part of this world. But what I don't want is to have to feel like it, like how interesting is Vi's story now without Geeks? Like
Right.
honestly,
Exactly. Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you could move on and do something new, but I would just much rather like everybody kind of move on and like go somewhere else where there's like a bunch of fighting going on. Because honestly, like as much as the conversation and the dialogue was emotional, the fight scenes were too. And though that's really what like got me hooked on the show. So
Yeah,
I'm not interested. Like I'm glad people in Arcane the series achieve peace, but you
we're there
know,
for the peace.
yeah,
We
We're
yeah.
want
there for the
problems
battles.
I'm
always.
I want to see how the problems are solved. So
Yeah.
that's where I would go. I want all new characters, all new everything. Unless it's just unless it was like my boy Echo goes to a new place and we follow him learning about this new place. Everybody else I'm kind of just like you guys did what you needed to do. I feel like your roles are solidified. You're on the council, you're running the family house, you're dealing with the loss of your sister but learning to love again. Cool. You're redoing all the tech. I got it. You guys are all doing what you're supposed to do. You're not doing nothing I'm really interested in seeing a cartoon about, but I'm happy for y'all.
Mhm.
And like hopefully in Arcane season 10, when we have our crossover event and the great battle of all of our Arcane worlds, we can catch up then. Hopefully you're doing well. But I'm hopping on this boat or airship or metal blimp or whatever we travel on in this world.
Right. The
My
original.
Metal blimp.
my rocket skateboard, and I'm out of here like Kid Cloud Kicker. So
Yeah.
um that's really what I would want to see. I want to see new places because I think the world building that they did on this show was amazing. But like I don't want them to get bogged down with trying to get into the weeds. I don't want to find out whatever the midichlorian of this world is. I don't want to find out what that is.
Right.
So um I think that it will be very interesting for them to kind of like I wonder if they will have the courage to kind of move on from a lot of this stuff, but
Mhm.
you know, that's the way I would go with it. Yeah. All right, so we can
I'm
give
with it.
like our final thoughts and then close out. Let's start with Sam.
Um, Arcane is a wonderful animated television show. A lot of action, a lot of intrigue, a lot of suspense, a lot of drama. Great storytelling, as you heard, and just a slew of wonderful characters to follow. Don't be turned off by the fact that it's based on a video game. You need know nothing about the game to enjoy this. Everything you need to know is self-contained within this story. Um, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I've been rewatching season two, even before I knew we was going to do this. I was rewatching season two just because there's so many, as we discussed, there's so many different storylines. I'm just really trying to make sure that I'm not missing simple things because you take so much of it in. It's such a visually impressive show. There's so much going on, all this action. I know I can't get it all the first go round. You know what I'm saying? Because I've picked up stuff that I missed just from talking with you all. And I'm like, oh, damn. Because, like, I ain't give Echo enough props till I had this conversation night. Like, oh, damn, you know, and my man came back.
Yeah.
Like, he could have stayed. So
Mhm.
it's, you know, it's definitely worth multiple viewings. And it's a wonderful show. And I would be interested, like you said, I trust the writers enough to just see what they do for season three. You want to give me a season three? I'm with it. Yeah.
RG.
I want to say this about the show that when people think of adult animation nowadays, they generally come to Family Guy, South Park. They think of things that are comedies and don't realize that this show is adult animation, but it is drama in adult animation. This show is about emotion. This show breaches serious topics. This show can get you involved in it mentally and emotionally. It is not a kid show. Just because it is animated does not mean that this show is silly. Um, this show takes itself serious, and it takes the topics that it discusses serious. Um, this season, the second season, just has so many really heavy emotional beats. If you've already watched season one and you haven't watched season two, or if you have it and you're watching this video, I dare you to tell me that you didn't get emotional in episode 6. Okay, um, that episode made me, as a girl dad, made me tear up. I got tear. Okay, on that episode. That is really how good. And I'm a hater. I'm a hater.
Big time.
Big time. Okay? they made the hater, man. They made, if I hit me right here, right here. But that is how good this show is. That is how good this show is written. That is how good this show is animated. And I definitely advise anyone who just enjoys a good story with good characters, regardless of the medium that you see it on, to watch Arcane. You'll enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for me, I would have to say about this show, I think that it is indicative of the types of shows that I think some of us grew up on animated that are not around as much anymore. Because even when you talk about adult animation being a lot of comedy, a lot of kids' animation is comedy now too. And when I was growing up, there was a fair share of like action based cartoons that were not necessarily comedy focused. You think about your all your superhero shows, you think about Gargoyles, you think about, just any kind of action based show that wasn't about being silly. It wasn't regular show, it wasn't, Adventure Time. Um and there's been a shift away from like that kind of content for a few different reasons, but I think that this show, like as an adult who enjoyed those, I think that this is the type of thing that like people need to look at when they try to understand why we as geeks lend so much legitimacy to animation, because we are looking at things like this that are on par with whatever drama, whatever action show that you're talking about watching. And I think, again, like I said earlier, the blend of writing, characters, story, animation, music, everything was blended together in a way where they all worked off of each other to tell a bigger story. Nothing was distracting, nothing was trying to downplay anything else in the show where we got to make this seem like it's way more important. You watch the quality story be weaved together through the course of 2 seasons, and you ended up with a a beautiful tapestry of a story that ended right when it needed to be ended. And I have a lot of respect for the artists and the creators of this, and I think that they are setting the bar in a lot of ways for how to adapt IP that is not necessarily story based. I think
Mm-hmm.
there's certain IP where it's story based, where it's not story based, and or the story is not something that's like guaranteed you follow every single time, like a Dungeons and Dragons, like
Right.
what's the Amazon cartoon?
Invincible.
No, 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 the
Oh, um,
the Dungeons and Dragons one,
Vox Machina.
Vox Machina.
Okay.
And I just feel like the way that this is done, the pacing, the energy, this is not even an animation style that I generally enjoy. Like I'm not really a big 3D, like whatever this kind of half 3D, half 2D animation kind of guy, but the way that this was done, it was done so
2.5
well.
cell D.
Yeah. Yeah, the way this was done was so good, and I think that if you're a person who enjoys any sort of like science fiction, if you enjoy dystopia future, if you like Hunger Games or anything like that, I think definitely give this a chance. Even though it's animated, this will scratch that itch, I believe. So nobody has any other thoughts, please remember, like, subscribe. I should have said that in the beginning, but I forgot. Hit the QR code right there over RG's shoulder. Join the Facebook group. Join the conversation. Subscribe to the channel. You get all this piping hot content every time we release it. And yeah, for RG, for Sam, I'm Jeffrey. Peace.
Zone for life. Nah.